just wants to exact revenge and get back. It's a chess match. She's on his back.
I have all the time in the world. Let's begin.
Damn.
Whew. Man, that's a clip from a new TV series, miniseries called Waco, which is premiering Wednesday, 10 p.m. on the Paramount Network. And it's starring our guest right here I'm a big fan of from some of his various works, from True Detective, American Assassin. I just told him about Savages, and Blake Lively, as you guys know, is a good friend of mine.
Yes.
and his work in Battleship with,
there you go.
With the lovely Rihanna.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Very sweet.
Yeah, very sweet.
Cool.
And now he's playing a lot of different. What did you like?
Friday Night Lights with Michael B. Jordan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, who's been on this show as well. He's done a whole lot. Got an interesting story to tell, but this Waco project is going to be really big. Please welcome him to the show for the first time, Mr. Taylor Kitsch, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's good to see you in person, man, because, you know, after I got a chance to get a sneak peek into the miniseries, man, and, man, you really embodied this guy, David Koresh.
Thank you.
You know, and and for us, we were talking about this. A lot of us, when this was taking place, we were a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is back in 1993. I was in California, in Oakland, and all I kept seeing on the TV screen was, you know, this back and forth, this melee between ATF agents, the FBI, and this guy who claimed to be the Messiah.
Yep.
You know,
messenger of God.
The messenger of God. And in the end, we just saw a flaming building with people dying in it.
I know.
And it just left such a horrible impression of who this man was.
Yeah.
You know, and so this miniseries kind of answers a lot of questions for the country of what happened in Waco, Texas. So you embodied him so well. I'm sure you did a lot of research and found out David Koresh wasn't even his real name. Right?
Vernon Howell.
Vernon Howell.
Was his real name, from Houston.
Vernon Howell.
There you go. Vernon Howell, everybody.
That's a not trustworthy name.
Well, the Koresh part was after was it after a Persian king?
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Okay, and then the David part was after King David, right?
There you go.
Okay,
you're on fire right now.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that. Have you no empathy, man?
Oh, jeez. I just put that together. It's still early for me.
All right. Don't wish that on me.
Damn.
You're doing the whole David Koresh thing, and you know, come on.
Jeez.
What can you tell us about this? About this person that I saw as a polygamist, a man who, you know, was claimed to have done sexual things to 10-year-olds. I know a young lady, she testified that he forced her to do sexual favors at 10. I saw him as a man who led, you know, 70 or more people to die in a flame.
Yeah.
Who was he?
I mean, look, all those things happen. And you definitely don't shy away from that. I think what you do if you're trying to tackle it and try and be authentic as possible is try and understand why and ground yourself emotionally to that as much as you possibly can. Because if there's an ounce of doubt with me on screen, then nothing works. So that's something that you grapple with, you know. I think if you want to learn about anybody, you start from ground zero and try and understand why. You know, that's your first question. And you know, a lot of things he didn't know any different. And I think this is something that I kind of figured out while I was doing it in the earlier stages of the 4 months prep, was to try and do my best to not bring my own judgment before I understand what's going on. And that'll open a lot more doors. And, you know, I struggled with it because obviously nobody agrees with a lot of those things, or all of them for that matter. But it's more of just understanding why. You know, he comes from abuse. He comes from a Seventh-day Adventist tiny group. His mom was 14 when she had him. He comes from, you know, a stepfather that, you know, again, abused him. And then he left at 14, memorized the Bible by 17, and then left and went to Texas and was with this other prophet and studied under her, and she couldn't get pregnant and got pregnant through him. And like, there's just all these crazy side stories that kind of made him become Dave Koresh. You got a guy who comes from zero control in his life and creates this environment of this compound and literally has a pulse on everything that is going down in there with the kids, with the women, with the men, and the new light revelation, which is the only man in the house that could see these elders that were going to run the world or take over the world and sit in judgment as the kingdom of heaven was coming down. And so it was just like, you try and understand that and try and, create a world where it's authentic for you.
Man, Taylor, I'm scared of Taylor just a little bit.
I know.
I think Taylor
It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Because if we talk to like Ryan Phillippe, he's doing his TV series. He said, well, we go to the shooting range for 4 hours a day. We practice. Like, where the hell do you practice? Like, to get that? What are you tap into?
I had hundreds of hours of calls. I would run. I lost some weight for it, and so I'd go run and listen to his sermons while running, and then you listen to these phone conversations with the Child Protective Services, to obviously the Gary Nesner tapes, the FBI negotiation tapes, and then you see and read letters that he would send. You see his recruitment tapes. Like, this was a guy that wasn't your stereotypical guy that would be preaching or whatnot. He was incredible at individualizing every person in that house. And I think he gave everybody that purpose every morning. And I think he also needed them as much as they needed him, because if he has his message from God, so if there's no one to listen to him, he's got nothing. So it was just the dichotomy there and everything that was going on at the time. It was like, before this siege, to make it a bit lighter, it was like, it was good to be Dave Koresh. Yeah. If you think about it, it's his birthday every day.
Every day.
It's all about me. We're going to talk. I'm going to give a sermon when I'm ready. Could be an hour. It could be 25 hours. It doesn't, like, he would do 36-hour sermons. People would fall asleep and follow him around the house. He would stay up really late a lot of the times, and he loved this soup that he would always eat. And people would just sit around Dave.
He was pimping.
He was. Yeah.
He was a pimp. And he changed his name from Vernon, because that's an obvious pimp name. Vernon Howell. David Koresh. It sounds spiritual.
He was banging out people's wives too, right?
Impregnating them.
The second in command's wife.
Yes, there you go.
And Judy Snyder, yeah. And the husband went along with it.
I know.
Lil B.
I know. So he lost, Bro was the last name of his right-hand man before the New Light Revelation.
Okay.
And he lost his right-hand man and was absolutely crushed by it. And so like 20 to 25% of the compound left when he had that revelation. So there were quite a few people, but I mean, it's an amazing thing. I think it's just a testament to who he was with these people, even during the siege, 21 people did leave during the siege. And I mean, you could, quite honestly, it was an open door policy. So that's something that a lot of people didn't understand as well, that you could leave. Dave would let you, he would remind you, you're not leaving him, you're leaving God, you're leaving this, and you have to answer to God. But it wasn't a forceful thing, it's the power of the mind is incredible.
But he still kind of made, because I saw in one of the portions of the episodes, Rory Culkin, who plays Thibodeau, he allowed him to stay for a length amount of time, and then he said, well, if you want to stay, like, how committed are you? So there was a point where you were going to have to show and prove, are you willing to, like, devote yourself to this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was before the siege as well. So during the siege, he would, people left or whatnot, and there was mutinies happening inside, and we deal with that, and that's fascinating too. Just how much Dave would test these people, and Thibodeau is one of them, and Schneider's the other guy. He impregnated his wife, and Steve Schneider, played by Paul Sparks, who's on Boardwalk, and he was amazing in that, and in this too. But I mean, it's an incredible thing, and how much he would test these people every day in their own way, So,
how, like, for a lot of criminals, depending on what you did, folks will just dismiss you as, like, subhuman, scum of the earth. Given this psychoanalysis, do you feel like you have a better understanding of criminals since you can kind of see all the layers?
I mean, of him, for sure. I think, you know, I was talking to Gary Nesner a few days back, who was the FBI negotiator. It's like there's just going to be some things that'll never be answered of someone that's this deep, and who memorized the Bible at 16. You're trying to escape something. You know, if you create this foundation at this depth at that age, and you leave and you're on your own, there's something there, and you give yourself a new name, and you know, there's something there that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, and I truly connected with that in that sense as best as I could. But there are things that I don't care who you are, man, you just can't relate to, you know, the abuse and whatnot that he was, you know, with these younger kids and like, it's just
polygamy.
Things, yeah, you know.
Some people can relate to that.
Man, he was just busted. Yeah, bro. Go ahead.
Hey, Taylor, I have a question. We talked a lot about David, but I'm curious about the followers. Can you talk a little bit about the makeup of the followers, or profile? What are socioeconomic values? Do they have mental disorders? Emotional?
Absolutely. No, I think, you know, this is another thing that is really fascinating too. It's like one of the first black graduates from Harvard that was a lawyer, came out of there, uprooted his whole family. The Martin.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, he uprooted his whole family and came and studied under Dave. And his wife actually still lives. She was one of the 9 survivors, and she lives in Waco and still teaches Dave's teachings every Saturday.
To this day?
To this day, my friend.
Did you consult with her?
So this is a whole nother. We can be here for like 5 hours, guys. But there's that guy, and then Dave would he went to London, and he had this 8-hour debate with this theologian, this guy who was teaching a master's in religion, and there's a few guys that came out of that had their masters already and went to this debate, and one quote that I'll never forget is this guy goes, I learned more in 8 hours hearing Dave Koresh debate my professor than I did in 8 years studying this. So I'm going. Wow. And that just meant a lot, you know, it just says so much to, you know, he was really persuasive, like, mad, brilliant of putting everything in layman's terms as well, and making it, you know, a story that has to do with you personally. And that's why people would follow him around late at night. There'd be 2 to 5 people or whatnot around him, and they just want him to look up and be like, go ahead. Yeah. What do you want? Anything you want to know. You know, why is there, you know, pain in kids? Why is there disease? And whatever your question is, these are some I would want. Yeah. You know, and he could do it, you know, and that's what I think people just really latched on. And, you know, he was recruiting from all over the world. There's Australians and Clive Doyle, who survived, who's in Waco and teaches with Martin as well.
Still teaching that.
Yeah. I called him on my way to Waco to go to the compound and the site and the memorial. And he was just super ill and couldn't talk and whatnot. So I didn't get my time with him, but yeah, it's fascinating.
All right, I'm going to come back. I want to open up.
I know. We're going to take a quick break. We got to take a deep breath.
We need a drink.
Yeah.
Let's open up these phone lines, man. 888-742-3345. Taylor Kitsch is here. He's playing David Koresh in the new miniseries Waco, premiering Wednesday, this Wednesday on the Paramount Network at 10 p.m. And even if you don't know the story, perhaps you know about friends or family members or even yourself that were members of a cult. Heather, you brought up Ryan Phillippe, and you and Ryan Phillippe actually co-starred in the movie, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the Bang Bang Club.
And we had Ryan as a good friend of ours too, man. Everybody's a good friend of ours. Yeah. I like to think you'll become a good friend of ours.
Already am.
Okay, good. Nice. But I just need you to shake that David Koresh shit out your system. I feel like you're still in the role over here, brother. Ryan came by, man, and you know Ryan. So Ryan is a big hip hop head.
Yeah, he is.
So we put him to the test. So we're gonna play a little bit of Ryan Phillippe and come back and take some phone calls. This is him doing Did he do the 5 fingers? No, he just did a freestyle.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I want you to rate it. Check this out. Let's see what it worked like.
If I'm gonna take a shot, I'm not planning on missing. Bob Lee swagger with the Smith and Wesson. But I can duck down too. Got P tatted on my arm, so I keep rock round too. I do. 2 to the chest and 1 to the head. The truth is my best. Take honeys to bed and do the things that you can only dream about. Go ahead and hate, release, and let your anger out. Please don't keep it inside, cause jealousy and envy fucking eat you alive instead. Find a pillow and fold up. R.I.P. to Nate Dogg, homie told you to hold up.
Damn. I mean, I couldn't even start that. So a tip of the hat to Philippi, man.
Yeah, he killed that.
Good on him, man.
Yeah, he killed that, man. Taylor Kitsch is here. 888-742-3345. Let's go to Michigan. We got Jay on the line. Big Jay, what up?
Jay!
Hey, Happy New Year. It's been a minute.
Yes, indeed, brother. It's been a second, man. What you want to say to Taylor?
Yeah, so Taylor, I'm not a follower of any religion, and David Koresh is the reason why. You know, to me, he's no different than, say, Jesus the Christ, who, if you put Jesus the Christ right now, people would have done to Jesus what they did to David Koresh, and they did it to Jesus. These men are very skilled at understanding human behavior, human psychology, coupled with the politics of the time, and then they just get people to buy their bullshit. And, you know, David Koresh 2,000 years from now will be considered like a Jesus. No joke.
Wow. Taylor?
And the question?
Do you agree?
You want to tap into that character right now?
What would Koresh say?
Right.
Damn. Can we
Man,
do that?
he would pull out some kind of psalm or some kind of revelation to stunt this whole thing. I mean, I can't tell you what people are going to say in 2,000 years about Koresh, you know? I think at the time he was considered a messenger of God, you know? I mean, the followers, yes, obviously. And to believe in something like that as well, the end of days, the book of Revelation, the 7 seals, I mean, it is. It's just so complex, too, man. I mean, there's obviously some valid points there. You know, he had people literally giving their lives to, you know, for him as well. You know, they're true martyrs of, you know, they're kind of define what it is to be a martyr in that sense.
But
know?
around how many followers did David Koresh have then? Till about
79 passed in the house. 15 children under the 21 children under the age of 15 died, and then 2 stillborns, and then there's 79 people in total. And then 4 ATF agents in the
That ain't no Jesus.
That ain't Jesus numbers. You ain't got Jesus numbers.
Jesus put more points on the board. I don't know. Hey, Jay, thanks for your call, though, Jay. You're a citizen, man. Dwight in Nashville. Go ahead, Dwight.
Hi, Dwight.
Jesus. Long-time listener, first-time caller, but I just wanted to say I'm not sure how the last caller wanted to compare David Koresh and Jesus Christ. But Taylor, you know, what did you do to get yourself in the mindset of being able to play somebody like this? When I think of David Koresh, I think of people like Jim Jones, where you take a religion and you kind of, even though you simplify it, but you make it very, you pervert it in a sense. But how did you get your mindset together to be able to play a role like this for somebody who a lot of people look at as just a killer and not so much as a martyr?
I think the beauty of this show is we're going to show you both sides, and the amalgamation of ego and force and the unknown will play out. You know, I think it's huge mistakes on both ends. But how I got into Dave was just the research and understanding his upbringing and trying to understand and break down the why. It's not so much of just what he believes. Obviously, it's extreme, the 7 seals, the end of days. But it's why. And I think once you can latch onto that, you can kind of play anything. So it's just the research and time and talking to different people and trying to break down his system of beliefs and why he believed what he did, out of, you know, the lack of love growing up to the protective bubble that he created in the compound, to ego, to being manipulative, getting his way no matter what.
Yeah.
And always, I think, a big thing, a power move that he had, and I don't care if he's talking to Gary Nesner or the Child Protective Services, it's his education on the Bible and memorizing the Bible by 17 years old. It didn't matter if his back was against the wall. He would twist it. You played that clip, and it's a perfect clip to play because he keeps going. It's not logistics at the time. We need help. We need medic. No, he keeps going back to the Bible. And at that point, he takes complete control of the conversation because nobody has more knowledge about some random psalm or revelation that nobody really studied that part of the Bible growing up, you know? Yeah. So I think that was a huge power play for him.
Taylor Kitsch, man. Get this man around. I know you got to go because I see your people Nancy on the couch. But before you do, because you have an interesting story, because you were a model, you know, Abercrombie and Fitch and Diesel, and, you know,
not a good one, by the way. Not a good one.
That's okay. You're a great actor. Lived in mobile homes, and you were also homeless.
Yep.
At one point.
In this city.
And look what he's doing now. So I'm sure you believe in something.
Myself.
There you go. All right. But before you go, we came up with a game that we call
Actor Survival.
And
yes.
Who wants to be a citizen?
I want to be a citizen.
Answer all the questions correctly, and you'll be a certified Sway in the Morning approved citizen.
Yeah.
I love it already.
All right, since it's your first time, we had to make you an official citizen of Sway in the Morning, and here we go with Actor Survival. Number 1, worst job you had before acting paid the bills?
Literally cleaning shitters at a lake. Literally cleaning biffies, those outdoor shitters.
Did it ever used to spill on you?
Oh, it was insane. I was 17 to 19, and I worked at this big lake in Canada, and just outside Vancouver, and that was my job, just cleaning the bathrooms.
Talk about humility.
And collecting trash, because there'd be like 300 cars, and it would be full by 9 in the morning, and you have to clean all the trash and clean the toilets.
And if it's 300 cars and there's at least 2 people to every car, that's 400. 600 asses.
Yeah,
that you were exposed to daily.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
All right, what did you do with the first big check that you got?
That's a good question. I think I bought a car for $1,200. This little Pontiac Firefly hatchback, blue car. I ended up living in it in Los Angeles for 6 months.
Yeah, car in the house.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just killing
means
it.
to an end.
Okay,
Yeah.
one last question.
Last question. Best financial advice you ever got?
Try and stay away from the emotional buys, because that's where you get caught up in like thinking you need it when you truly don't. You know, that's a big one. I still try and. I'm like, I want to go buy Springsteen tickets, and they're $1,500 each or $1,200. That's a lot of money, man.
Hell yeah.
It's just like I grew up with Springsteen.
Nice to somebody down the hall.
I know.
We got a Springsteen channel, right?
Yeah.
So
we could hook you up, dude.
Yeah.
that's what I was implying this whole time.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, okay. He's doing that David Koresh thing right there.
Man, I gotta say, this is like amazing energy in here, and I fucking appreciate it, man. You guys rock. It was fun.
Oh, thank you, Taylor.
Mutual.
Appreciate it. Same feeling is mutual, brother. Come back anytime.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Taylor Kitsch, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget on Wednesday, Waco premiering at 10 p.m. on the Paramount Network.
Woo!
Up next, we got the A&R Room, and then after that, we got the shark himself, Damon John. Sway in the Morning.
We the best. It's Sway in the Morning. Only on Shade 45.